everybody. Before we start today's episode, I want to take a moment to tell you about something that has become a daily part of my own practice. Young U Organics White Sage Smudge Spray. Now, if you're like me and appreciate the benefits of energy cleansing but want a smoke-free alternative, this spray is perfect for you. It's made with white sage, clary sage, palo santo, rosemary, and lemongrass essential oils. It has added sea salt and blue apatite crystals, and it offers all the powerful cleansing properties and benefits of traditional smudging without the need for burning sage. It's quick, it's easy, it's portable, and it smells really good. Whether you're at home, in the car, or at work, this spray can help you clear out negative energy, reset your space, and create a calm and peaceful environment. I personally love using it all the time, and especially before recording these episodes to create a centered and grounded environment and condition in my body. So if you want to enhance your spiritual practice in a clean and convenient way, check out Young U Organics White Sage Smudge Spray on Amazon. And we will provide a link in the description for you to check this out. All right, let's get started on today's conversation.
Hello. I have with me here Melissa, my co-host in Evolving This Conversation podcast, and today we thought it would be interesting to talk about the differences between plant medicines and Western medicine. And one of the things that we thought was important to say was that in Western medicine, there is a compartmentalization where the body is just all separate pieces, and symptoms are usually treated as something separate than the body. Whereas in plant medicines, the plant medicines can address the whole dimensionality of health, not separating out any one part of the body from another. Melissa, could you expound upon that?
Um, yeah, so I think there's different layers to that. So I think in my understanding of Western medicine, it started off more so where we had the idea of the body being all different sets of kind of like pieces, and almost like how you could dissect a body and take out the heart, and there you have the heart, but it's not connected to all of the other parts in the body. And so then we have doctors that treat each different body system. So, for example, you have the cardiologist that treats your heart. Then you have the neurologist that treats the nervous system, but also like the heart is part of the nervous system. And then you have the endocrinologist that treats your hormones, but also like your heart could control your hormones. So, or help to control or help regulate your hormones. So the in my understanding, Western medicine treats our body as it's like all these separate systems, and none of the doctors, I shouldn't say none, but in my experience, they don't typically work together. And then, so they'll just treat the symptom based on like what they know to be what the doctor knows to be in that area, when it could be something that's, not, and this is where I think it gets a little bit overlapping. For example, like stress could be related to your heart problem, and they're not even addressing stress at all because that's almost not even considered. That's like something separate. That's not even like of the body typically. I think that's more so, people think of that as like a mind. I don't even know. I'm not exactly even sure what that's considered in Western medicine. So, but I know that there's also traditionally like, not even taking like the influence of like emotions or feelings or mental health into consideration. So then there's another kind of like compartmentalization, um, where it's like physical health is separate from emotions, from energy, from spiritual, from social, and mental, which those are like the how I think of all the dimensions of our health. So I think that's where the compartmentalization comes in.
Yeah, I have experience with that as well, with the compartmentalization and Western medicine not really being able to answer the problems that I had going on with digestive problems years back. Where when I went to the doctor and I said like, "Hey, I've got some digestive issues," and they ran some tests on me, they're like, "Oh, you're fine. Like you're not lactose intolerant, or you don't have a celiac disease." So I don't know, buddy. Like, sorry, can't help you really. And I didn't really know what it was for a while, but then I came to the conclusion that it was like emotional stress type of a related ailment of what was really going on. And then I noticed with the plant medicines as I started to address the stress and how to be able to deal with it, the plant medicines then started to alleviate it. And I even recently have seen where when stress was a lot and it was pretty constant, it's still affecting my digestion, and the plant medicine's still alleviating. And well, hopefully one day curing or healing, I should say. But so that's just my own experience of what you're talking about with the compartmentalization of Western medicine, where they don't really take in account all of what's going on in the body. And I like what you said too about, about emotions being part of the body and mental state also being part of the body. And that really just sort of gets, separated out typically in how we think about it in modern life.
Yeah. I think typically from like a science medicine perspective, right, those things don't necessarily, like you're saying, don't aren't addressed or aren't recognized as having an impact on the physical health, whereas all of the healths are interconnected and interrelated and happening at the same time.
Yeah, I think, yeah, dealing with those emotions from from what I've experienced, Western medicine doesn't really have all the answers when it comes to that. Now, they do have certain answers, and I think their answers are within emergency medicine. For instance, when I dislocated my shoulder and my arm was just like hanging off there, they were pretty good at being able to respond to that and get it back into place, and and then fix my fully torn labrum. So good for that. Good for antibiotics. Healed me of a staph infection. Saved the Western medicine has saved my life on many occasions, and I know that neither of us in this podcast are really, saying like one or the other. It's always a matter of a question of like what medicine is going to work, and sometimes it's a combination of both the Western medicine and the plant medicine combining and working with both modalities to be able to produce that healing and or alleviation for someone. I was wondering if you could share with us what you've learned in your course of studies and your life as far as that goes.
As far as, I'm sorry, what's the question?
As far as like for it, like in some instances where you're using both treatment methods of Western medicine and the plant medicines to be able to heal and get better.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think all of this is to say that one is better or worse than the other. I think that um I think they are, like you said, there's, the medicine that you need is going to be the one that alleviates what you're experiencing, and in my experience, or even cures what you're experiencing. In my experience, I've used Western medicine and it has saved my life. I had cancer two times, and if I didn't treat the first one the way I did, I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. That was a deadly cancer, so I would have died. So I was happy at the time to know I could be cured, and I had radiation and I had chemotherapy and whatever other medicine I needed to take because of the chemotherapy and the radiation that I was getting. Um, so I think it's just a matter of what people feel comfortable with. I also think it's just a matter of doing what what you feel is best for you. I mean, there's certainly people out there that don't want anything to do with plant medicine and don't believe it or whatever, however they feel about that. And then there's some people that probably don't want anything to do with Western medicine. And I don't think one's right or wrong. It's a matter of want to what you personally want to do. I mean, when I had breast cancer, I did some Western medicine, what they recommended, and then I also did a lot of plant medicine. So I did the Western medicine to like directly take care of the cancer, like what what was like a mass, right? That science knows how to now cut out of your body. So thank you for that. So I was able to do that, but then I also know that, that having cancer isn't like that sim is just a symptom of something else. And in my experience, the Western medicine, mostly what we're saying here is mostly just treats the symptoms. So then not only were there, um, not only did I have a symptom that this cancer is showing like a growth or a mass, but in my understanding, there's also like underlying stuff that's happening, whether it's in the physical body, well, it's all in the physical body, but whether it's like physical things with my cells and whatnot, but also then like emotional, spiritual, energetic, mental parts that I felt like I had to address also to really do like root cause healing. And then also I think there was healing too that the actual treatment had given me.
If you would feel comfortable enough, could you go further into detail how the plant medicines addressed, like you were saying, like the mental and the other aspects of that healing and getting to what was underneath the symptom of cancer?
Oh yeah, sure. So what the plant medicine told me was that I had to stop worrying. So um so I had to do a lot of work around that. So a lot of work mentally and emotionally and spiritually and energetically went into that kind of healing that like mind habit of worrying. Um, yeah, I mean there was a lot of medicine that had to do like a lot of healing. Honestly, I think to heal the cancer, and I might have talked about this on the podcast before. So I had the treatment and then I had a surgery and I had radiation and then I drank ayahuasca. And after it was like five ceremonies working with Hamilton, I felt like I was cured. Uh, I, or not, I don't want to say cured. I felt like healed. And in my understanding, or like what I thought I was healed from at the time, was just like having had this cancer. Like it was stressful. I was like full of fear, worry, not just the worries that I had habitually been doing, but like all this other worry about, about my health, my kids, my family, all this other stuff. Um, and I was just a mess. So after that last ceremony, I was just like, I felt amazing. I was like, oh God, like I'm really healed from this cancer. What I came to understand probably like a year later is that I had to just heal like my entire life from the cancer, and or to like heal the cancer, and like I was just healed in general, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes complete sense. Thank you for sharing. Um,
And I think I see you're like formulating a question. So this brings me to some of the differences. Is like I did the plant medicine work, ayahuasca. I mean, I also did a lot of other plant medicine work that year, and there was a lot of work that I had to do in addition. So I think that's a big part too, in my understanding of the difference, where in the two kinds of medicine, whereas the plant medicine is like almost this like learning and growth and personal evolution experience versus just like being a passive recipient of a treatment. That's then like the treatment is responsible for fixing me, or whatever the, fixing whatever the problem is. Like I actually had to do a lot of my own kind of changing of patterns, habits, lifestyle that went into the overall healing.
I think it brings up a really interesting topic on how to treat someone in their totality, and I think I think you have a very, very inspiring story for just all of that, really. And I think that the world of medicine, like Western and plant medicine, I know, I think, really truly be inspired by this, where you have this person, you, who went and, did the Western medicine and the plant medicine in conjunction with each other, and then produce the healing. I think that could be a precedent for many, many people where, they could be suffering from some type of illness where, they get treated by Western medicine, and then to deal with, how to evolve as a person, use the plant medicines then in, a nice harmony with each other. It reminds me of I was reading a book about Qigong, and how in China, that people who would be diagnosed with different types of diseases, they would be uh, treated within that more modern type of modality, but also then be given a Qigong practitioner to work with, to be able to take care of the energetics of someone. And I think it also brings up a really important topic of how these different types of illnesses can cause, like you were saying, like the stress and how to deal with the stress. I mean, I've read articles before where, someone gets some type of illness, then they also get a mental emotional illness that comes along with have had that illness, or having that illness. And so it just brings, even further things to be able to treat. And what we're really talking about is the Western model, or modern medicine, not really having the tools to be able to then treat the totality of the person's spirit or energetics. And so, thank you for sharing that. It is definitely, I think, inspirational for people to hear.
Well, thank you for sharing that you think I'm an inspiration. You know, you said a lot there, but one of the things too, I think in and I'm no expert in this, but I know, for example, like Louise Hay says, that all of the illnesses have a kind of like an energetic component at their core. I mean, this day and age, I'm not sure if that's, I think something like as complex as, illness like a cancer or, like autoimmune diseases and things like that. I'm not quite sure we could just say there's like one thing is causing it, right? Like that's a really like simplistic way of viewing things. I mean, I'm all for simple solutions, but I don't think that necessarily like the answer is simple, especially, this, like I was saying, this day and age, where there's so many, chemicals, additives, the things that we're exposed to
Yeah.
in our modern life are different than what people once were exposed to, where perhaps it was maybe more just like energy.
Yeah, I mean, it leads me to think, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say not that the other stuff doesn't like have an energy behind it, but I mean, so I guess ultimately everything it is all energetic, but
Yeah, it leads me to think about um, the shamanic awareness of these different types of things where it's a way of describing what's going on. And like you said, when I'm saying a spirit and like the spirit of illness and equating that to a thing, spirit equals thing, right? It could be like a multiplicity of like thousands and thousands and thousands of things that's causing this illness. And yes, I do agree with you when you say like when there's different uh, when we would describe it as, oh, it's just like energy, it might be too simplistic of a description to accurately depict what's going on in someone's health and and an illness itself. I mean, the way I see it is, the illness of anyone is a spirit. It's a spirit in and of itself. It's the spirit of this person's illness. What causes it? I mean, you'd really have to, in shamanic terms, look at the spiritual lattice of this person and be able to pinpoint all of the different spirits. That's the amalgamation, or all of these different things. It's an amalgamation of really what's causing this type of illness in someone. And yeah, like you said, it's very complex, super complex.
yeah, and I think that's partly of the reason why the plant medicine, not that it's more effective, but it's just a different style of treating because it can, I think, encompass more of the complexity. And again, not that modern Western medicine doesn't address complex issues, but again, it's like piecemealing it almost.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
I was gonna say, like even the cancer, like I have to go to the oncologist, I had to go to the radiologist, I had to go to the breast surgeon. I had to talk to the counselor. I needed the nurse manager. There's just, and that all still didn't even address, that was all just like the physical stuff. But again, I mean, it saves lives. It's just the approach.
what you were saying led me to think about how in the Western medical model, for most instances, it doesn't really teach you how to live a holistic, healthy lifestyle, right? Like we have the food pyramid, and I think it's safe to say that the food pyramid is definitely not an accurate way of of modeling how you should be eating to be living a healthy lifestyle. But I mean, that's kind of really what the Western model has. And that's just like one example of how it just doesn't have all of the answers. But it does, like you were saying, like it does have some answers. It's just that we have to be discerning about, like, I think collectively as a species, we have to be discerning about what is true in our systems and what is untrue in our systems. And it's really hard, right? Because I mean, like everyone's living a busy life for the most part, and especially in this modern world, it's like you barely get time to do much. And so yeah, another thing that we were discussing that we thought would be worth mentioning on the podcast is the doctor telling you what's best for your body versus discovering what is best for you in plant medicines.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, in my understanding, the Western medicine takes the doctor as being like an expert on the body, and you go to the doctor to help you figure out and diagnose and treat what's the matter with you, and the doctor's the expert. And I think in some way, when I go to work with Hamilton, he's an expert at the plant medicine that we're using together, but he, in no way, I'm always like he gives me the medicine and helps me, like, maybe this is an intention you might want to consider, or like this is like the direction or a question you could ask, but like I have to do all the work by myself. Obviously, he's there like guiding and directing the ceremony, but it's more so been an experience for me where like I'm the one having to become my own expert versus a doctor being the expert. I think, that's probably has changed somewhat as well now because there's just so much more information that we have available to us. Whereas, before the internet, let's say there was encyclopedias and they came out once a year, however often they came out, or you could get a book. I mean, you couldn't even like read a book on your phone. You have to go to the library and get the book and do the research. So, I mean, doctors were like not that they were intending to be gatekeepers, but there's a lot more information, like freedom of information and ability for us to access information now. But I think that kind of dynamic of the doctor being like the expert um, plays out a little bit. I think too, we just have that pattern overall in general in society. What I'm noticing, usually it's like it starts off when you're young and there's the parent, and then, or there's a teacher, or then there's like the job or the government. Oftentimes we're really reliant on somebody outside of us. I think that just, unfortunately, like the power dynamic that is developed, or the system of power dynamics that is developed in our culture, with someone like, the inside having a lot less power than the outside has. Whereas the plant medicine, I think, really helps to, in my experience at least, really helps to ground you in your own power, and kind of, yeah, like really address that pattern.
I've experienced very similar things to what you were saying, in that working with the master shamans that I have worked with that are truly master shamans, they have always guided me. They've guided the experience during um, the actual ceremony itself, and guided to the realizations, and then it was up to me what to do with those realizations and integrate those realizations then afterwards, and continue working with these realizations, and not having them be rigid but malleable, in the sense of discovering what it is that is going to be truly healthy for my body, because what might be healthy for my body might not be healthy for your body. There can be commonalities, right? But it just leads me to understand, like, there's really no like one size fits all when it comes to being healthy. There's definitely commonalities, right? Like, I don't think you could sit down and eat like 60 grams of sugar in one sitting and have it be healthy, like for anyone. I think that's across the board. you know, but like as far as like some people can eat nuts, some people can't eat nuts, some people can eat dairy, some people can't eat dairy, some people need a small amount of meat, some people need no amount of meat, some people need a lot of meat. I mean, there's, the Inuit who live off of like seal blubber and seal blood. So, and I mean, so it just, yeah, it's a lot more complex than just like this is what is healthy for the body, and then saying that for the population as a whole. And in my experience with working with the plant medicines and the continuation of the the exploration of what it means to be healthy, it doesn't always align with what I've been told by the government, like the food pyramid, and what's going on in like modern pop culture of like Arnold Schwarzenegger type of working out, and or like all of these things where you see it's like, well, this is like the model of what a healthy person is. It's like, well, no, hold on. Let's let's hit the brakes here for a second, because like that, so like a lot of what you see within, I would say, like modern pop culture, this is a healthy person. I don't know about that. I mean, just like in the instance I said of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Like you would think like this dude's like buff and healthy, but yeah, I mean, you can look at a lot of people who are like really physically fit and muscular, but they're not really exactly healthy. And I've experienced that in my own personal journey, going back to like the personalized experience of these plant medicines and how they work in an overarching journey of like you take it, you have these understandings, and then you work on implementing all of these understandings into your daily life. And so who you are then from like A to to B, and I mean this is just like a very linear model of it, and sometimes it doesn't exactly fit, but who you are is a completely different person than what you started out as. And I think that a lot of that is, intentionality, and the person guiding the initial ceremony,
Hmm.
combined with the plant medicine and the practitioner who is guiding to the medicine and the realizations, and then the person who has these, who works at having that transformation. It's, it is work.
Yeah, it definitely is work. I mean, I think that's also a difference,
Mm.
right? In the Western medicine, you're typically just receiving this medicine, whereas in the plant medicine, yeah, you have to put in your own effort. And not to take away from anyone receiving Western medicine. I mean, I know it feels like effort, or I don't know if I'm saying that in the right way.
Yeah, yeah, I think you are. I get what you're saying.
I mean,
I
it's
think it makes
mentally and
sense.
physically and emotionally and energetically and spiritually draining to get treatment or to be sick, you know? So I'm not trying to say those people are not doing anything. Like they're taking care of their health in the way that they know how to. They might not know other options are available or might not have the belief that anything else can help them. And I'm not trying to say they're, just wanting to be passive recipients and not do work. It's just a matter of, um, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of difference between the Western medicine and the plant medicine, of like give like I'm gonna be the recipient of this treatment, and then that's it. Then the treatment just ends. Whereas like the plant medicine's like I'm gonna be a recipient of this treatment, and then I'm going to receive these understandings, and then I'm going to work at changing my life for the better.
Yeah,
And
then I have to implement
that's
what the
medicine.
medicine revealed to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, all of what you're saying is, well, obviously it's all falling under that kind of like, coming at you versus like coming from inside of you.
Mm. Hmm.
You know, the real difference being, yeah, like, but there's like this outside and inside. And also, you know, you were mentioning too how, right, like so much times our health is focused on like what the outside looks like versus what's really happening on the inside.
Yeah, I think it goes back to sort of um, what we were talking about as far as like inside or outside. If I can have the outside look good, and then like the inside, it does, I don't know, it doesn't like really matter then like what the inside, I'm just trying to like go along with like, I mean, that would be probably my train of thought years ago of like, let's get fucking
Yeah.
jacked. That's what I want, like at all costs. Whereas now I see that as like, oh, that was just like me, you know, being avoidant of feeling certain emotions. If I
Yeah.
could create these protections around me, then I'll feel good. Oh, wait, there's a delusionary bubble that was really, really easy to burst. Now what do I do? Become healthy. That's what I do.
Yeah, I suppose that's not so much as a result of Western medicine, but more just like Western culture.
Yeah, yeah, that I mean, it's like the result of Western culture that the plant medicines has helped me heal from in the sense of like I think that's like a cultural type of sickness in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
In source code, we would call that idealizing,
Yeah, yeah,
where
I like
there's
that.
no insides.
There's no insides. Can you elaborate on that? I don't
Yeah,
really get
so
it.
we're very idealizing in our culture. It's where, you know, you have a whole inner world, which is almost like what we're talking about here. There's the inner world of emotions and feelings and sensations and you know, wants and needs and desires and states and qualities. And oftentimes where it's just like, oh, you're so pretty. Oh, you're so smart. Oh, you're so handsome. Oh, you're so good at sports. It's not like, oh, you're so loving, caring, kind, considerate, respectful. Like oftentimes our culture is just very complimentary towards the outside. It's, you know, like it's like social media almost, or like celebrity culture. It's like, what is like that thing that looks shiny and beautiful is you know, and beauty only having like one kind of flavor versus like there being this like entire inner reality. Um and when you don't get that as a young person like modeled to you or reflected back to you, like uh then you kind of develop this idealizing where it's like the outside.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah,
And
and then you're comparing everything based on the outside is really what the coping style is. It's like it's one upping and one downing, and it's just comparing versus it's comparing based on like the outside versus like knowing that there's an inside.
mm, yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's
And
actually
that,
some,
oh, sorry. As I said, that might
no,
be confusing with coping styles because also we talk about outsides and insides because everything technically is happening inside of you. Um, So that's also how, like, when we talk to someone in a source code session, you're talking about outside and inside. So, but this literally means like the outer layer of your being versus outside and inside. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does make sense. It makes a lot of sense too. And
I don't know if that makes sense to the listener. Sorry to cut you off.
no, I mean, to the listener, I wouldn't know, but
Yeah, sorry. That because I think it would get too complex. Almost like what I was talking about with the doctor, right? Like the doctor would be like, "Oh, the outside tells the inside what to do." But here in idealizing, I mean like, you know, only like your surface level outside of you is being talked about or witnessed or observed, or you're complimented on like very superficial the outside versus like what's all that stuff happening inside of you.
well, I really like the idea of recognizing and complimenting and admiring someone's inside qualities that are really, you know, based in something that's going to be positive, like you mentioned, like kindness and caring and loving. And I like that idea as opposed to only glorifying like you said the outside of like good athlete, good looking model, and all of these things that our culture deems worthy, when really what I think to the soul, what is worthy are those qualities and more, but just those ones that you mentioned of kindness, caring, loving, and etc. That's something that I have learned on the plant medicine journey as well. Of it really does matter to the inside, cultivating those qualities within yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it matters for your mentality and your overall well-being, because I think when you start to learn how to then turn all of those qualities inside, like that's where in my understanding, where the real change happens, when I start learning how to love myself, care for myself, be kind to myself, then I could really start to be able to then emanate that out to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's partly like the going back to what we were talking about, where it really helps to heal that. The plant medicine really helps to heal that and to grow that, versus the Western medicine, where it is just very targeted on the symptom that, maybe being brought up that way caused.
Yeah, yeah, fascinating point. Fascinating point. I'm sure that I could talk about this all day, and perhaps we could have more podcast episode based around this idea of the differences and maybe like a Venn diagram where they meet too. Um, is there anything else you wanted to mention in this episode?
I think just going just similarly to what we were just talking about, um, the plant medicines really kind of like meet you where you are, in my experience, and and you mentioned this, how it's like individualized, and it really gives you what you need, versus kind of when, at least in my experience in Western medicine, I felt like I was on like a conveyor belt, and like the people outside, I mean, bless them, because I'm not trying to insult the work they did in any way, but just how it was received or how I felt. I mean, also granted, like you're in a very, like vulnerable time. It just felt like I was just like you know, another cog in a wheel. They were just like going through the motions, or just like doing the thing. It was, and it didn't take into consideration anything other than like, this is the plan.
Hmm.
This is what we offer you. This is the plan. This is what we do based on like, it's very like, yeah, like you said, linear, you know. Whereas I feel like the plant medicine really, yeah, meets you where you are, and it's more so gives you what you need, as opposed to just giving you like a treatment plan
I think
that's
that's
standardized.
Yeah, I think that's very important to have mentioned the individuality of it, meeting you where you are, and the true intelligence of this earth and these medicines that have been put on this earth or grown on this earth, or however you really want to look at it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of our medicine uses like plants, actually. A lot of the Western medicine. I mean, I think, I don't know all, but like a lot of the chemotherapy drugs come from trees.
Hmm, interesting. Very
Mhm.
interesting. Well, I'm sure we could have another episode about this, and I think we've reached about the 45-minute mark, and
All
so
right.
let's yeah, let's just say like I just want to say like thank you, Western medicine. Thank you for
Yeah.
the person who thought it was a good idea to make antibiotics. Like you saved my
Yeah.
life. Thank you, and thank you to the people way back in the day that thought it was a good idea to like mix some plants together and boil it up and take it. Like, thank you
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
much. I
Yeah.
love you all.
I mean, like we talked about in the beginning, none of this is to say like Western medicine is wrong and plant medicine is right. I mean, it's not that, right? It's just highlighting some of the differences that we've noticed in our experience.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful for Western medicine practitioners. I mean, I know I can imagine they're all just like caring people that want to help people.
Yeah,
They go into
I would
the
imagine.
practice. I mean, I'm sure maybe some are like, oh, doctor, like make a lot of money.
Yeah,
But
I'm
that's
sure
okay
there's
too. I mean, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's not to like, it wasn't a bad mouth like Western medicine practitioners or Western medicine at all. I mean, yeah, I'm
no.
so grateful for it. I would have been dead long ago
Yeah, none of
if it
this
wasn't
was
for the,
to.
the doctors I've worked with.
Yeah, none of this was to diminish anything. It was just a celebration of these medicines that are here on this earth, and just to understand like there are differences in different types of, I don't know how you say it, but modalities would probably be a word for that.
Yeah, I think too, I mean, plant medicine is a little bit more, even though it's been used for, I mean, I don't know how many years, as long as people have been using plants out there for food, since, I mean, I don't know how far it goes back. I don't know about this time thing.
Long time.
I don't know about this time thing anymore. Um, it goes back for infinity. So, what was I saying there? I got stuck in time. I'm stuck in a time loop. I'm back like at the Big Bang.
That's
The
funny.
Big Bang is
Wow.
happening somewhere in my brain right now.
Yeah, we were just saying, how um, there are differences, but both are legitimate, and that the plant medicine is not necessarily new, although maybe in our culture it is new.
Yes, thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Even though plant medicines have been around prior to Western medicine, it is a very novel idea for people to use this kind of medicine.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. In our culture, it is definitely what'd you call it? Novel?
Novel.
It is very novel. When I heard about these practices going on, I was like mind blown. Like, oh my God, these people are still holding on these like lineages and traditions. Like, this is so fucking cool.
Yeah. I mean, I went to use plant medicine. I didn't even know like it was a medicine or like what the hell it was. I was just like, all right, I'm gonna go do this thing.
And it worked. Turned
And
out
here I
well.
am. Here I
And here
am.
you are.
All right, everybody. Well, we hope you found this useful. We'd love to hear from you. What's your experience with Western medicine? What's your experience been like with plant medicine? Do you have any questions or comments? And share this with someone perhaps
Yeah,
that
yeah, and if
could
you have
benefit from this
questions, just
conversation.
sorry, Melissa. I
Oh,
didn't
no
mean to
worries.
interrupt you.
All good.
This whole yeah, these conversations get me better at conversations and not interrupting. But I just wanted to add on to what you were saying. Um, with if you have any questions, just and you're sort of new to this, you can ask us, and we may be able to point you to some very helpful resources.
Yeah, certainly. All
Well,
right,
with that,
everybody.
goodbye,
Bye.
everyone.